Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a chance to enjoy your lunch break and now that it has to offer. So do not worry if you did not have the opportunity to see it all. The exhibition will be open for 3 days until the end of the Global Disability Summit, and the panels look forward to. Now, I would like to welcome on stage Gertrude O. Forwa Fifo, who will moderate the panel promoting and protecting and fulfilling the human rights of girls and women with disabilities. I would like to welcome Ms. Fifo and the panelists to the stage. Ms. Deere, here now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MC, for the nice words. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. So I wish to welcome you to the session on promoting, protecting, and fulfilling the human rights of girls and women with disabilities. And may you allow me to bring you greetings from my various affiliates, the CRPD Committee, Site Service, Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, and ICVI. I am Gertrude Oforua Fefome, your humble moderator for the afternoon. So, very often, women and girls with disabilities face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination. And to remind ourselves, multiple discrimination is a situation where a person can experience discrimination on two or several grounds. And it is in the sense that the discrimination is compounded or aggravated. Intersectional discrimination refers to a situation where several grounds operate and interact with each other at the same time. And it is in such a way that they are inseparable, affecting the promotion, protection, and fulfillment of the rights. Though these circumstances are the causes of most barriers we face in this era, we want to say the story differently. We want to say that our situation is a force that keeps the momentum growing for change. We do represent approximately 19.2% of the global female population. Girls with women with disabilities, the gender minorities, possess invariable perspectives crucial to all conversations surrounding gender equality and I stress that, disability rights. Today, we have gathered to reflect, engage, and mobilize to influence for change. I will share a short story of an experience that happened 30 years ago when women with disabilities raised our voices and organized demonstrations to illustrate the discrimination we were facing at the Beijing Women's Forum in 1995. Our voices were heard. And a gathering of a tent which had been put far from the main road with difficult physical pathway to reach was changed to the roadside immediately. Indeed, not every concern was achieved. That is why we are here today, but there was an impact. So let us continue to act and we'll continue to see some impact to enable us move on. For today, we have the following distinguished speakers, and I'll tell a bit more after them after I've mentioned their names. Amanda Begray, Sefi Perkot, Aswari Raja Laxmin, Bisi Bamishi, Dwansam Lajiktit are our great speakers. Could you please give them a wave? Thank you. So Amanda Migray, please, you have a full bio of them on the website, but for time, we are saying a few words about each of them. Amanda Migray is a disabled feminist human rights activist. She joined Women Enable International in 2016 and leads advocacy work on the United Nations and beyond. Hello, Amanda, and I go on. Sophie, since 2017, has been leading the Making It Work project at Humanity and Inclusion, supporting women with disabilities to push for real change. And Dr. Aswari Raja Lasmin currently runs a shelter for homelessness for disability in China with a focus on their access to employment. She is also implementing a CBR program at Tamanadul focused on linking feminists with disabilities in social rehabilitation and equal opportunities. And then I come to Mrs. Bisi Bashame. She is a distinguished journalist who serves as National President and Executive Director of Albinism Association of Nigeria. Dua Lasamja Jadit is a Mongolian, a deaf advocate, cultural researcher, and Executive Director of the Culture Center of the Deaf Mongolia. So these are our distinguished panelists. Could you give them a round of applause again? Thank you. May I please ask you for an attention for an announcement? So please, participants, you can submit your questions from this very beginning of this panel using the QR code displayed on the screen. And I want to add that printed versions of the code will also be available on the tables. So for today, we are going to have questions and interaction. Each panelist will be asked a question who will respond for 5 minutes. Then we have a second round of 3 minutes, after which, depending on the time left, we shall take some questions from the audience. Are we together on this? Thank you. Yes, we are. So, my first guest speaker, panelist speaker, is Ms. Amanda Migray. And her question, madam, is, what has worked in advancing women with disabilities? Are there lessons we can amplify and models that we can scale up? You have the floor for 5 minutes, madam. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Getty. It's always hard to follow you, but I'm also privileged to do so. And so privileged to be with all of you on the floor today, too. So I don't think we can talk about the leadership of women with disabilities unless we first recognize that human rights are in crisis right now. I just came from a global gender conference in New York, the annual Commission on the Status of Women, and I can tell you that women, girls, and gender diverse people from around the world are really feeling this crisis. Gender has become a taboo subject. Along with that, the issues that most impact women, girls, and gender diverse people, issues like inclusion in public life, freedom from violence, rights to make decisions about our bodies, are off the agenda, and even the recognition of our basic personhood is being erased. This has been happening gradually in many places and spaces for some time, but it feels like we've reached a really critical point now, one that we really can't ignore. And as disability rights advocates, that sounds familiar to us, right? To see the issues of greatest importance to us and to see our own personhood erased from the agenda. It has been less than 20 years since our rights were enshrined in the CRPD, and we can remember what came before that. But here's the thing, if human rights are in crisis, that means that disability rights are not immune. When you look at the agenda for GDS over the next 2 days, are you seeing the issues most important to you on that agenda? Or have they once again become taboo subjects? Has the crisis quietly arrived on our doorstep and in this space too? As more than half of all people with disabilities and nearly 1 in 5 women around the world, women, girls, and gender diverse people with disabilities have the power of our numbers, the capacity to control our lives, and the imperative to lead and envision just futures. But a prerequisite for our leadership is that gender needs to be on the agenda in all disability rights spaces, including this one, while disability needs to be on the agenda in all disability spaces. At the same time, the leadership of women, girls, and gender diverse people with disabilities needs to be a core part of all decision-making spaces. So women and gender diverse people with disabilities must be in leadership in the movements and the spaces that impact our rights. This should be obvious, but it goes beyond that too. We also must think about the ways in which we lead. That is why many of us don't just refer to ourselves as women with disabilities, but as feminists with disabilities. We take our experiences across movements to shape the ways in which we show up to advocate for human rights and justice. Feminist disability leadership is values-driven. It is guided by a commitment to intersectionality and the breaking of silos that divide us based on our identities. It is also about ensuring the leadership of the most marginalized, while recognizing that ensuring rights and justice for them ensures it for us all. It is about recognizing that we all have power somewhere, and that sharing power between ourselves and others is a means towards all of our ends. And it is about solidarity and allyship across movements, knowing that the fight for human rights and justice does not end with ourselves. This last value, cross-movement solidarity and allyship, is incredibly important for all of us right now during this crisis of human rights. Understandably, the disability rights movement has frequently acted alone for many years to raise the profile of our issues and claim spaces that were often denied to us. But given the backlash against human rights and justice and the rise of authoritarianism around the world, this moment calls for a different approach. It is imperative that we create links across movements, including with actors in the feminist and women's rights movements, to fight for human rights and justice beyond disability rights spaces. It is also imperative that we embrace the issues and priorities of both people with disabilities and all of our diversity and other movements too, that we show up for sexual and reproductive rights, for racial justice, for migrant rights, and so on, beyond the ways in which these issues impact us. At the same time, we must keep insisting that other movements embrace our issues and advocate for us as people with disabilities too. This is something we can learn from feminists with disabilities and from other multi-marginalized people with disabilities who are already engaged in this cross-movement work. This is a little bit of what feminist disability leadership looks like, and this is a framework and model we hope will scale up and guide all of our work moving forward. Thank you.
Wow. Yes. We have the numbers. We need to be included. We need to be in the lead. We need to occupy our spaces. We need to advocate. And we need to have allies. And because we have to be everywhere, the spaces should not be taken up by others. Thank you, Amanda, for this insightful presentation. So Sophie is my next speaker. And Madam, in the context of shrinking space and growing threats to human rights, how can cross-movement collaboration serve as a powerful tool to advance the rights of women and girls with disabilities? Please, you have for 5 minutes.
Thank you, dear Getty. Guten Tag. Bonjour. Before I begin answering the question, Getty, let me share a word about the picture that I have here on my name card. This picture shows the smiling face of Adelaide Niyigina. She is the national coordinator of the Association for the Promotion of the Rights of Women with Disabilities in Burundi. And she should be here with us, although she did not receive her visa in time. So Adelaide is not present, but she will be here throughout the 3 days with her picture. So I would like just to take a very quick moment now to cheer and clap for Adelaide and for the other women with disabilities who were denied their participation here. Thank you so much. Those women were prevented from attending simply because power and resources remain so unequally distributed between the global north and the global south. This story of Adelaide ties directly into the topic at hand. Visa denials, we know, are one of the multiple barriers, among other obstacles, to the participation of women with disabilities. So how can international or national actors claim to uphold gender justice if women and gender diverse persons with disabilities are excluded from those very conversations? Feminist organizations, development actors, or climate justice movements cannot truly claim to be using a human rights-based approach unless they are intentionally inclusive. Inclusive of women, inclusive of disability rights, and of the distinct and valuable perspectives that women with disabilities bring. In these times of shrinking civic space and growing threats to human rights, the voices and presence of activists with disabilities are more needed, more than ever. Cross-movement collaboration is not optional, it is essential. Amanda just reminded us that disability rights movements have so much to learn from feminists with disabilities. More broadly, we must forge stronger partnerships now. Together, we need to adopt a systematic, strategic, and intersectional approach, centering both gender and disability in every human rights agenda. During its General Assembly last week, the International Disability and Development Consortium, IDDC, took a firm stand. DEI will not die. Diversity, equality, and inclusion will not die. IDDC recognizes diversity as a collective strength and is committed to widening collaboration and deepening solidarity through an intersectional lens. And I'm excited to announce that Anna Dawson from Sightsavers and I will be co-coordinating the IDDC Gender Task Group, which will carry this work forward. Thank you. And please join. Let me name a few other examples that foster cross-movement cooperation already taking shape. The Inclusive Generation Equality Collective brings together activists with disabilities and allies from around the world. Since 2021, the Inclusive Generation Equality Collective has been advocating for the inclusion of feminist disability perspectives in gender equality spaces and decision-making. As well, I could mention some European Disability Forum work with publications on disability-inclusive climate action. Cross-movement collaboration is a force multiplier. Thanks to stronger national, regional, and global partnerships, Beijing plus 30 review has been more inclusive than Beijing plus 25. Together, we, me and some others here in the room, produced the powerful yet overlooked African Regional Report that was further amplified through representation in civil society regional consultations. I'm pointing here to our dear Olga from OFA Benin. Amanda, as you said, this is the power of our numbers. In 2023, women with disabilities played an important role in shaping CEDAW General Recommendation number 40 on participation in decision-making, which highlights the importance of inclusive decision-making. This leadership set a strong foundation for the ongoing work on CRPD Article 29 to build on. I speak to you today as a feminist without disabilities, as an ally to women with disabilities. But allyship is not just a word. Feminist solidarity must be real, lived, and practiced. Cross-movement collaboration needs it. This is how we can advance the rights of women with disabilities. It is also how we strengthen the feminist and human rights movements as a whole to be able to defeat anti-rights forces. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. So a more emphasis on the need for allies and alliance in a positive way in which we have the human rights-based approach. And the solidarity is important so that we can emphasize and strengthen the cross-movement collaboration. And she said, we need to strengthen our voices. We can't stop. Adding on to what Amanda said, how important and how wonderful. We move on. So, Asrera, how do we support women from marginalized communities with intersectional identities to occupy space?
Hello.
Hasn't it moved all on intersectionality, especially when we consider imbalances in power, identity, and access and accessibility? Please, you have the floor for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for all the other women on the platform who have been speaking so powerfully. Thank you all friends from all over the world. I just want to start off with, talking about intersectionality from a very Indian subcontinent point of view. It's just not the intersectionality between gender and disability. We have to add here a layer called caste from India, which is also very all-pervading. It deprives, if you talk about, if you want a real masterclass in intersectionality, you don't need to look no further than a Dalit woman with disabilities from a minority religion in India. So I want to start from there. And if you take, in India, we've not had a census since 2011. So we don't have data at all. All data come from separate programs and they are all not validated. So when we talk, that is from where we are coming from. We have a country that is sending, satellites to the Mars, etc. In technology, we are going all over the place. But when it comes to data about disability, we are actually, still struggling. In 2011, the overall literacy rate was 75% of the Indian population were literate. But when that data showed that only 45% of women with disabilities were literate. So there's like a huge gap. And unless we strengthen this push for better data, we're not going to make the decisions that are necessary for allocation of funds, for knowing where to put your money or what policies to draw from. Every year we have a National Health and Family Survey, and last year they left out any question related to health and disability. they were there, but those questions were removed in the last minute. And in spite of all our efforts in, reaching the people, they said, sorry, it's too complicated, we won't be able to do it. And the NSS, so there is all surveys are leaving out disabilities. So this is, so we want a greater push for data. That is the number one way in which we can bolster this intersectionality. Now, and we want better funding. The funding has, been so elusive, and I think this is cross-cutting everyone. Everyone is talking about the same thing, and unless we have better funding specifically allocated for women with disabilities, and we are not going to make the strides that we want everyone to see. And the third point I want to stress is the mainstream feminist movement have for long given only a very tokenistic, stance for women with disabilities. Just, a very token, whenever we have huge issues we have in India, like, physical assaults, sexual assault of women with disabilities, because women with disabilities are much more vulnerable to them. We are only going to the streets and talking for our rights. 2017, we had the state put extra, the GST regime came into action, and all disability aids and appliances had from 5% to 25% increase in taxes. We were the only people that were out on the roads and talking to the government and, talking about our issues. The mainstream women's movements or the other rights movements have really not been so much, addressing these issues. So unless this kind of collaboration between different movements are happening, I don't think our issues will come to the fore. And on intersectionality itself, I mean, I don't want to sound like nothing is happening. A lot is happening, definitely. But the change has been small, but I think even a small change is good change. In India especially, we are seeing a lot of impetus on sports. Para sports is really taken off because India hasn't won Olympic medal in a long time, but the Paralympians are going all over and they're bringing back, medals to the country. So therefore, I think sports has really showed us how a little improvement, little impetus to that field has brought back a lot of dividends. So these are some of the issues that I want to really put to the front here. Again, in India, women with only 40% of women with disabilities are getting married. I told about the access to education has been less, access to family life and to public life and participation in political, discourse has also been there because only 30% of children with disabilities 30% of children with disabilities have never gone to a school, according to the old data from 2011. Unless we bridge these very basic gaps in education, etc., we are not going to, have an equal chance at the table to speak with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I say the thank you, then the clap goes on. So, a lot more has been added. But what I just want to highlight is the fact that we should continue to take advantage of what is possible and is available and demonstrate to the best of our ability. So, Asira has cited a lot of examples, and it is great that we don't lose it out, but that the journey has been difficult, but we will not stop. I like the example of sports. Thank you for that. So we go on. Oh, so now is the 10th of BC. How do we address gender-based violence against women and girls with disabilities in a scenario where even the limited space for them within human rights and development space as it's continuing to shrink? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Before I proceed, I want to express my appreciation to the government of Germany, as well as Disability Rights Fund, for granting me the privilege to come to 2025 GDS. I appreciate their sponsorship. So a big thank you to both government and DRF. Can we all clap for both of them on my behalf? Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Now, how can we battle this evil among women and girls? Foremost, I will say that we need to strengthen grassroots alliances and networks among women and girls with disability by amplifying their voices, by ensuring they are in the forefront of advocacy. Because nothing without us is not for us anyway. So if women cannot speak, who will speak for them? So I want to thank the organizers also for having this session, because I believe that it will go a long way to bring life to women and girls with disabilities. Aside grassroots networking, there is also the need to integrate disability inclusion into existing GBV protection and prevention programs. Because if this comes in, everywhere they go, they know that there is inclusion. It will put fear on people who are discriminating against them. I have a case, a life story of a lady with albinism in my country. Of course, I know she married early. Not much work, but still, she will go out to the sun to go and work. And you know the sun is our greatest enemy as person with albinism. Over there in our country, 2 must die every month to skin cancer. So this lady will go out in the sun to start working. Meanwhile, the husband will sit at home relaxing, that after I have somebody that will go out and bring money in. At the end of the day, he will still beat her for doing one thing or something wrong. The marriage finally collapsed. And that was when that case was brought to us. But I believe that if the legal framework concerning violence against women and girls with disability, that girl would have found solace. But unfortunately, the law is not strong enough to fight for cases like that, except when the activists now rise up. It is when they rise up to fight that we know that, yes, there are people on ground to fight for women with disabilities that are being discriminated or that are being beaten or done wrong to them. So there will be need for partnership between activists and disability organizations so that they can fight together for the rights of women and girls with disability. Also, we need to have a measurable representation of women and girls with disability in places of authority in our various countries. They must have a space where they can be involved in decision making. And with that, they'll be able to be part of people that will make decisions concerning their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A clap. Thank you, BC. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. So you have also emphasized the need for collaboration. You have used a story to illustrate how partnership is important, and you have not left out the fact that we have to be meaningfully and effectively be involved, and we have to be at the table. Thank you. So, Daya, encouraging younger women with disabilities to take leadership in active roles in the disability movement is crucial. And this is for ensuring the sustainability of the future of the movement, as well as for amplifying the voices and perspectives of the younger generation. Have we, the disability movement, been able to do this successfully? If yes, how? And if not, why not? You have for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to be here. And I'm a deaf person to share with you. And my interpreter is my voice for today. And this is very important. And I'm not a young person, I'm a middle-aged person, I suppose. But it's been a delight for me to be here and see so many people. And it's important that we have a voice. And I'm so happy to be able to share that with you. When I look back to when I was a much younger woman, I think what I needed very much was support. And it was very much coming from the disability community. But I didn't know how to navigate my way through it. But disabled women and the meetings they shared and encouraged me to attend, it was the very first time that I began to learn from other disabled women how to work. And that first time had a huge impact on me. And I remember it was such a strong impact. Women, deaf, disabled women, can be empowered, and I couldn't grasp that. I had grown up as a deaf person, being looked down upon. I was very insecure. But the important thing that I learned from these deaf women was that we're survivors, and that had a huge impact on me. And over time, the World Federation of the Deaf taught me about the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. They guided me through the various principles, and what was so important was to actually go into it in detail. I learned such a lot, and I got so much support, and then I was able to pass that on to other people. And it was a huge opportunity, but if I hadn't had that support, I wouldn't have been able to teach others to share that knowledge with other people. And it was very important for me to be able to share with younger people how, and my experience had empowered me, how women with disabilities face huge barriers that we must solve, and what we can do to navigate those. And it was difficult because my first attempts, I had no access to the discussions, the dialogue, but the feelings that I had were so different. And I wanted to be equal, but people didn't understand. They didn't understand my barriers to access. It took a lot of time to explain what I needed, and I felt very alone. And it was difficult to explain to people why I needed an interpreter. And sometimes we were taken off the point that I wanted to make. I think that if we all had the same rights, I wouldn't have been distracted from where I was going, what I aimed to do. But it's how young disabled women are able to achieve these things. And this is what we must focus on. I think we need to give them leadership. We need to be able to navigate their way to change the systems for them. And from my experience in joining the IDA Bridge training, and I thought that that was just so empowering once again. So many young disabled women attended, and their lives were changed dramatically. And as I saw this, and a deaf friend of mine, a deaf woman, had learned from that, and she approached her government and negotiated with them and eventually achieved recognition of the national sign language of that country, and a woman led that process. And that was so important for other women to see, for young women to see, to learn, and if they are given the opportunity, they can be good, effective leaders. And I think, first of all, we here, we need to be making these links, joining together, and we need to agree about how best we can achieve that for young deaf women. This is our point, and we need to listen, but really, real life can be difficult. I think solutions are multiple, but I think the SDGs are guiding us, and they'll come in future years, but we need to be looking at budgets and percentages, and we need to be looking at factual statistical information to make us more included. So why can't we? Why aren't we that percentage of people? I think we aren't to be limited. We need to be much more focused and more positive, and we'll achieve our aims. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you so much. Yes, we need more. Thank you for using your life experience to bring us to the discussion. Thank you also for adding the fact of the support we get in our network, the training and exposure, and example of the experience from the bridge training, and the fact that we have to be part and to ensure we are doing more of everything. We'll not take the floor from you, Daya. You still have the floor for the second round. And so, if you wouldn't mind, please help us with the point that from your work in Mongolia, and as well as elsewhere in the world, are there any case studies you can share where supporting the active role of girls and women with disabilities have led to more successful outcomes when it comes to implementation of the CRPD and the CEDAW? Please, you have the floor for 3 minutes. Thank you, Daya.
Okay. I think that's an excellent question, but it's a very hard one, because I have not been directly involved in CEDAW, and I have to say it's been a bit of a barrier for me to access it and navigate my way and learn from that scenario. I think there have been other barriers. It's difficult because people won't provide me with a sign language interpreter. So I think CEDAW is making huge strides, working terribly hard on the conventions, but us in the deaf community, we're still facing these barriers. We're still searching for what we can do to get us in there, to make these contributions that we can make. I don't want you to see this negatively. This is a positive contribution, and it's something that we're learning to do along the way. I think I don't want to specifically focus on CEDAW. There are many other organizations and conventions that we need to address. But when I look back and I look at how we managed to achieve things, certainly as a deaf woman and deaf women, we don't know about these conventions. We don't know about CEDAW. But I, myself personally, I have been determined to find my way. And I think certainly for the first time, I've seen that there are doors opening to us. We do need to make these principles known to people, but I think if we face barriers, we mustn't let that stop us. Otherwise, we will be distracted from our purpose. I think we need to be on an equal par. It's important that we know the words that we can use ourselves. We want to live good lives, and we do need to know the legislation that's available to us, the conventions, the CRPD, and the work that CEDAW is doing. And in many ways, it has been a very positive experience, but if I'm asked people will say, well, I don't know about CEDAW and the work they're doing. And so that's a slight negative view I have to express. But I think that really, that's life, and we will get there. Okay? Is that all right for my answer?
Yes, 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 yes. Please give us an applause. Thank you. Without taking more time, I'll come to Aswera for your follow-up question. What are some of the current developments in policy and decision-making spaces that need the attention of the disability movement when it comes to gender justice? What are the red flags? What are the red flags? Thank you, Aswera. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Some very interesting work has been happening from where I come from. Recently, we had the assembly session where our local government comes together. They made an announcement that 5% of all local government spots should be set aside, reserved for women for people with disabilities, out of which half will go for women with disabilities. So this is a very big achievement. It is years of our struggle that has been answered. So this will give us a spot to make decisions at the local government level. So I think that's a very important stride that we've made. Another thing that has happened here is in community-based rehabilitation. In the part where I come from, there's been a comprehensive continuum of care model that the government is rolling out, and it is in its pilot phase. So they're trying to bring rehabilitation services, social entitlements, everything to the doorstep of people with disabilities. This has so far never happened. So in order to get one, government entitlement, a person has to go from pillar to post for, 10 days, 20 days. I mean, it had always been, to get anything from the government had been difficult so far. So with this move, technology is helping the government to come to the doorstep of the person. So that is another very important, significant, change, shift in how things are going to be done, and we welcome that. So like this, and I mentioned earlier about how sports is making, breaking down barriers and making it very equitable for people with disabilities to compete along with other sports persons. And incentives are being given to para-sports players, if they when on par with non-disabled sports persons. And arenas are being built, stadiums are being built for them to participate in. So that is an important move that is happening. Along with that, red flags are certainly there. And we are always aware that these red flags need to be, immediately identified. One thing that happens is whenever, we are invited, especially the leaders are invited to be on the government panels and committees and members. So, and that is how the co-opting happens. So when you are on a government appointed position, then you are expected to sing praises of the government or to take their line, or when something is not going all right, you're supposed to go soft on the issue, because you choose to lose your, that's how they co-opt all the important leaders into, either committees or given important positions. So these are some of the red flags that we always want to be vigilant. We want to be close to the government and yet far away and monitor them, but also work closely with them. This is a very, very fine line that we need to balance, but I think that is how we have to manage. And as far as gender justice, you asked about it, Chair, and I wanted to speak in the first round itself. I didn't mention, men and women expect a lot of the things are common, what we want from life, but women's issues are unique and very different. One, especially coming from a country like India, sanitation is an issue. The men don't fight about, better toilets, but for women, we need better spaces, better toilets.
Thank you, Asra. Thank you so much. We want to hear more, but the time will not allow us. But yes, without monitoring well, we will not see the red flag. And when we see them, we need to address them immediately. Thank you. Oh, BC, you're the next. What will be your call to action from world leaders gathering at the GDS? What will be your call to action for world leaders gathering at the GDS? A very interesting one, too.
Okay, my call for action to world leaders at 2025 GDS is that the time is now for them to act. They should go beyond commitment and make concrete actions, ensuring the implementation of their commitments. There are many ways they can do this. They can adopt and as well as enforce gender-based policies that will enrich and empower women and ladies and girls with disabilities. Aside that, data advocacy is very crucial. Government or world leaders as well as organizations can go into collection and use of data so that we can know exactly what is going on against women and girls. With specific figures, we can have the real account of what is going on in the world. Also, world leaders should please prioritize services for women and girls with disabilities. You have the health, reproductive health service that they can work on so that women and girls with disabilities will feel more loved, more comfortable, and above all, strengthen legal framework, which will strengthen them. And of course, guarantee financial commitments. It's not only making commitment, but there should be money to back up the implementation of the commitment. This is very, very important. And then, accountability. They must be ready to be accountable for every kobo, every money spent, so that people will have confidence in them, that this is what they are fighting for, and this is what they are achieving. And of course, women and girls with disabilities should be given the opportunity to prove their worth. They should be allowed to participate in politics. They should be allowed to do what they want to do to better their lives, either at the local level or national level, and even at the international level as well. So I believe that the time is now for world leaders to act and help in upholding the rights of women and girls with disability. No more time for excuses. Now is the time to act. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you once more. Yes, no more technicism, just not commitment, but reality with funding data to support it. And so we move on, and the last but not the least is Amanda. What gives you hope for the future when it comes to the right for women and girls with disabilities, please?
Thanks so much, Getty, and thanks everyone else on the panel. This has been really, really interesting, and I hope these discussions continue outside of this space. What gives me hope is that I'm seeing an increasing embrace of feminist disability leadership as a way of guiding the work we do within the disability rights and justice spheres, but across movements too. We are increasingly sharing power, working collectively, embracing the priorities of other movements, ensuring accessibility and inclusivity, promoting the leadership of the most marginalized among us, and holding ourselves accountable to our values, all in our efforts to advance rights at the intersection of gender and disability, and rights and justice beyond that too. The feminist disability movement has existed for a long time and is growing as we embrace our power and use it in our own ways. Indeed, through feminist disability leadership, women, girls, and gender diverse people with disabilities are transforming global movements, including the disability rights movement, to be more intersectional, collaborative, and work to address the urgent issues of our time. To show our commitment to feminist disability leadership at GDS over the next 2 days, many feminists with disabilities and allies will be wearing purple bandanas in our hair, like I'm doing right now, on our wrists, or tied to our bags, as kind of a subtle show of our solidarity and our resistance in this space. We want you to join us, so please come grab a purple bandana at exhibition booth B2, Women Enabled's booth out in the exhibition hall. And also stop by that booth to meet other feminist disability leaders and have some important conversations about feminist disability leadership, allyship, and gender on disability agendas. I am a feminist with disabilities. If what we said on this panel today resonates with you, then you may be a feminist with a disability or an ally too. So let's embrace that identity and reach across movements to make happen the changes we want to see for women and gender diverse people, for people with disabilities, and for all whose rights and justice are threatened in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've met Sophie. I don't know how it happened. But Sophie, your question goes like, I'm actually taking it from Priscilla to give you that something like, give me the question, please, for Sophie.
Yes.
How can disability, inclusive development, actors invest in leadership of women and girls with disabilities? Oh, another important one. Sophie, please, you have the floor for 3 minutes. And sorry that I skipped you. Sorry.
It's okay, Getty. I know it's not what you wanted. Thank you for the question. Actually, building leadership of anyone takes time, right? So to truly invest in the leadership of women with disabilities, disability inclusive development actors must go far beyond short-term project financing. We need sustainable systemic investment in human beings, in their organizations, and in the environments that allow leadership to emerge and thrive. First, this means funding organizational capacities. Women-led OPDs need core support to grow, to hire staff, to plan long-term, not just deliver on short-term results. Their partners and donors must consider financing for reasonable accommodation. Let me not repeat what Duya beautifully explained about the importance of accessibility and so on, especially also for younger women with disabilities. Allow me to emphasize the importance of addressing linguistic gap and digital gap, especially for Francophone women leaders and those from under-resourced contexts. A great example of how to guide this work is the Feminist Accessibility Protocol that was developed by the Inclusive Generation Equality Collective. It reminds us that accessibility is not just about infrastructure. It's about power and belonging, about making feminist and development spaces inclusive by design. Beyond these considerations, let's be honest, development actors must walk the talk, as we say. Inclusive leadership has to be embedded in organizations as a strong practice, if not as a strong internal culture, as employers, implementers, and partners. That means hiring more women with disabilities and making sure our teams reflect the diversity we claim to stand for. That also means making sure women leaders with disabilities have a seat in every network where we have a say.
Wonderful! A clap, 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 yes. Oh, I wish there was more time, but unfortunately, we need to leave the stage. We need a stage where we don't even have enough time to summarize, but at least we go away with 3 key issues. That women and girls with disabilities, including gender minorities, we form a sizable percentage of women, but we don't find the same space, the number, the worth, the depth, the weights, neither in women's work nor disability rights work. And so we need to continue this. We need to invest in building the capacity of women and girls with disabilities and ensuring that we are doing it in the human rights-based approach. We need to use existing facilities and programs and life experiences to build on for the future and for now. We have acknowledged that the journey is quite challenging, but we will not relent and will not leave out the girls, the youth, the men, the women, the older, and all generations. On this note, what can I say? By thanking my distinguished guest speakers, my panelists, for such a wonderful work. Could you please give them a round of applause? Thank you. And to you, the audience, without you, why would we have been here? Another clap for yourselves, please. Please go with the fact that women and girls with disabilities have to be everywhere. No tokenism, action, action, action. Thank you, everybody. We've come to the end of this session. Remain blessed. Thank you.